Hey ladies, so today I have something special for you. We're changing it up. I have been going back, well not me, my amazing team has been going back and asking some of the other podcasts that I've actually been on if we could utilize that interview on Mom is in Control. So throughout the weeks to come, you may hear some interviews that I've done in the past with other people. So let's dive into today's episode. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think.
Hi, and welcome to today's episode on the show. Today I have a special guest joining me. I first heard her speak on a parenting summit hosted by Renee Jane from Go Zen Anxiety, and I knew then that I would love to have her on my show. So welcome, Heather Chauvin.
Louise, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So after hearing Heather share her thoughts on managing anger and seeing that she actually has more episodes on her podcast, Mum is in Control, than I have on mine, I reached out to her and here she is. Thank you so much for being here with me, Heather. I really appreciate you jumping on so we can record this episode for all my listeners. Perhaps you can just share a little bit about yourself with them before we get into our juicy conversation.
For sure. And I'm just giving you a heads up. Of course, we're recording this, when everyone's in quarantine. So you may hear my children upstairs. I can hear them running. I put my noise canceling headphones on so that I can stay focused on you, but you guys might, or ladies and gentlemen might be able to hear them. So I love this conversation because when you come into contact with someone who's like-minded and they just get you, it's a lot easier to be in that conversation about conscious parenting and really understanding this. But of course, it took effort to get here, right? It took work, it took perseverance. And so my background, I actually used to be a social worker, and I became a mother 15 years ago. And I remember looking at my son feeling complete hopelessness. And I was a young mom. And when I looked at my son, I just, for whatever reason, I had two things that came through my mind. One was never become a statistic. So I already had that grit, using my anger to fuel me to create change. So when people said turn left, I turned right. When they said you can't do that, I said, yes, I can. I'll show you how. And the other thing was, I remember having this feeling that I've already felt like a failure as a mother, but I had this sense of, I need to become the person that I most desire my children to be. And I knew that I can't just project and give up on me and my life and go live your dreams and live vicariously through my son. I had to become that. So then I would be able to teach him what I learned myself. And that has gotten me through all of this, the last 15 years. And Mom is in Control, which is the podcast, came about when I was, left my social work career, jumped into coaching because I really felt this calling to be the change I wanted to see in the world. And I started realizing that behavior was a language. It wasn't something that needed to be punished or persecuted or, ridiculed for. Yes, there are appropriate things and inappropriate things, but it was truly my child speaking to me and my own language, my own behavior as well. So, so much magic, so much tears, and a lot that has gotten us to where we are today.
And so similar to my path as well. And, I was very determined and wanted to get it right and believed I could always be better. And so, began my journey on this path. And it's just great to hear of similar stories. So today on the show, what I want to do is kind of merge our two podcasts. So your podcast is called Mum is in Control. My podcast is called Parenting in the Thick of It. How about we immerse ourselves right here and discuss how we can keep ourselves, or how we keep ourselves in control while we're in the thick of it today. And today we are recording this in the midst of the coronavirus,
In the
taking
thick of
control
it.
of our lives, really in the thick of it. Yeah. It's terrifying times for us that we all find ourselves in. And I think it would be valuable to the listeners to come away today with a few tips on how to stay on top of things when, we've all got our kids at home. I've got my kids at home. I've got my husband at home. He often travels. He's here right now. The 3 teenagers are here. The 2 cats are here. I'm trying to work full time. My husband's trying to work full time. You're probably in a similar situation. So if we can discuss, what do we do to try and hold ourselves together in the thick of it, and when the shit hits the fan, I thought that might be an interesting place for us to start.
Yeah. So even, in the moment, there's a lot that we can do. And I just want to back up a few steps, because
when you say in the moment, do you mean as in this present moment, or in the moment as in big picture with coronavirus and where we all are in our lives?
In the moment of when you're in the thick of it and you
Yeah.
just feel whatever trigger has happened in your life or in the environment to get you in that moment where you're like, I can't handle this, right? I can't handle this. I have no idea what's going on. I feel overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I just want to scream and yell and crawl into bed, drink that glass of wine, Netflix, and just tune out.
Yeah, fast forward 7 p.m., 8 p.m.
Yeah, we all have those moments, and we're allowed to have those moments. But when that is your lifestyle and that is your identity, and, we as humans thrive in connection and community, and like attracts like. So what I've noticed is in the parenting world, we have this conscious parenting movement, which is, I don't know. We could talk so much about that just in that in itself. But we have this conscious parenting movement, this attachment movement, and people want to do no harm, right? And then we have this other movement where we have wine o'clock, and where it's like, let's just drink, let's be miserable, let's see how much coffee we can drink, let's lack. So there's almost like this lack mentality, and then there's this abundance mentality. Regardless, both parties are challenged and struggling. One might be more open to showing it than the other. So when you're in the thick of it, to tell a brief story before we started recording this, and I said, I'm reacting very differently to this than I would have 6 years ago, because 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer, and I was 27 years old. So you can do the math. And I realized that I was living in survival mode in many areas of my life, parenting being one of those. And I thought that my children's behavior, because some will say your children's behavior is a reflection of you. I do not like to shame women or men or caregivers of any sorts, that the children's behavior is a reflection of them. I don't think shaming and judgment is going to get us anywhere in the world.
I
but
agree.
what I do want to say is that how you react, kind of like the conversation we're having, does make a big impact on your relationship with your child. And if you have no trust with your child is not going to respect you. And what I noticed back then was that I was being, praised for who I was, having depletion mindset, meaning lack mindset, not taking care of myself, working, being a workaholic, like giving,
as in wearing all of that with a badge of honor. Look at me, I'm amazing.
Yes.
People would say, you're amazing, Heather. How do you do it all? You've run your business, you've got kids, you've got this, and you're like, yay. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate.
And I was getting that feedback, and in all honesty, I did invest in myself at that time. I've always had mentors. I've always I was always investing in personal development, but I didn't have any female mentors in my life that were doing it in a sustainable way. And the ones that did not have families. And so I kind of discounted that, right? Because I'm like, okay, you're teaching me this, but you don't have the children as well. So how can I be the business owner and, raise my family at the same time? And so I was doing it all. I was just, and I did not make it on my to-do list. Fast forward, because of all the work that I was doing, I got to this point in my relationship with myself, post cancer, post treatment, post all of that, where I said, I'm just going to try something. I'm going to experiment. Living the way that I was living previously had me angry, resentful, miserable, and almost dead. So I'm going to reverse engineer how I want to feel in my everyday life. And it was alive and energized. So I started, creating my day in alignment with how I wanted to feel. Fast forward to today. This is happening. Well, guess what? Financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationships, whether that's my marriage or my parenting, the cups are overflowing. They're overflowing. They're not dry. They're overflowing because I have been investing in all these areas of my life for the last 6 years. So now that this, shit hit the fan and the thick of it is happening, yes, I have moments of overwhelm. Yes, I have moments of frustration. Yes, I just bite my tongue and walk away. I have raised my voice once and I was like, ooh, where did that come from? Wow, Heather, you must have really neglected yourself. Like, where did this shitstorm come from? Like, what was going on? And there's so many reasons why, but it's not my children's fault. It is my responsibility to manage my own emotional well-being. And I can 100% apologize, even if, quote unquote, my children deserved it because of their behavior. But I will tell you, I feel so much more in control of all of these areas. Yes, I've had to pivot. Yes, I've had to course correct, but everything, that reserve that we were putting away for, whether it was financially or energy wise, or like all of these areas, it's like my relationships are solid with my children, so that when I have to all of a sudden be like, okay, guys, new routine, we got to put some education in here. We're going to do this. And they're having their own big emotions. I know how to manage that now. And so it doesn't just happen in the moment, right? People want quick fixes now.
They
Tell
do
me
in the
what
moment.
to do in this moment. Guess what? You need to make this solid lifestyle shift. This is an opportunity for you to be like, it wasn't working. And now it's just all in
Reset.
your face.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And in my book, I have kind of the what do I do? How do I do it? I have it in like 2 steps. One is in the moment. We have to be able to be less reactive in the moment. We have to watch our triggers, because the trigger's always on the inside. And my listeners now know, they've heard me say it often enough, that they're coming around to realize it's not the child that is the trigger. The trigger's in you, and the behavior outside is triggering the trigger in you. So we have to be able to do something in the moment to tame our reactivity, to stay in control. But in order to do that, we have to prepare for the moment. And that's exactly what you're saying, is the wake-up call came with your cancer. Like, holy shit. And at that point, you realize you have to change things and you have to prepare your way for the next moment. Now, you've had 6 years of prep work. So I'm always saying there's laying the foundation to prepare for the moment and then in the moment. But if you've not had the wake up and you're sitting here thinking, well, how do I even start?
Yeah.
Today's a new day. This is a fresh start. It's the opportunity for a reset. So you can look at this as the opportunity to start and move forward in a way that is more aligned with your values, more aligned with how you want to feel. And you'll begin to create the foundation and platform you need. So I always say it's kind of twofold: in the moment and preparing for the moment. And I spend a lot of time preparing for the moment. And over the last, 6 years, I have been doing a lot of groundwork that allows me to show up in each moment less reactive. So I'm curious, because I'm sure some of the readers are saying, well, that's all very well and good. I've not had 6 years. I've not been doing it for 4 years. It's now. I want to start. What would you recommend to someone who's, probably very fearful of what's going on in the world right now? We all are. I know how I'm handling my fear, and that is very, very important for me in showing up in the moment less reactive. What would you recommend to someone who has not done much groundwork or prep work for the moment to be able to be less reactive in the moment? I mean, I'm asking for the instant fix, which there isn't, but there are. I mean, I know you'll have ways. I have ways, and we can share it.
So I think my brain is going into, well, they could do this, or they could do this, or they could do it. Like, there's so many different ways that you can go about this. And I also see people getting decision fatigue, and they're looking outside of themselves for the right answer. So they'll hear this conversation and they'll do what we tell them to do. And then they'll hear a conversation with someone else and they'll do what they tell them to do. So actually, my suggestion would be sit with yourself. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is take a pen and a piece of paper and write it out. Like, if that's what you're experiencing, I mean, I'm a big advocate of meditation and mindfulness and a whole bunch of things, but that can be overwhelming too. So take out a pen and paper and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And then just write it out. Like, just sit with yourself and write out every thought that comes to your mind. And opportunities, like, why did that situation just trigger me? Pen and paper. Why did that situation just trigger me? Mm-hmm. And just write it out. And if you don't know, it's an opportunity for growth. Seek the support that you need, but sit with it first. And then another thing is,
it's amazing actually how when we do sit with it and give ourselves that space, we might not know, but stuff comes out. But before you know it, you've written pages that you didn't even know kind of existed, so to speak. So I think that's a really valuable thing.
And also asking yourself, like, what do I need? That was a big one. Like, that was my go-to starter when, I said, how do I want to feel? I want to feel alive and energized. Great. How do you want to be in relationship with your children? I'm assuming you're not going to tell me angry and resentful, right? You're going to say connected. Sit with that. Go, what allows me to feel connected in my own life? Because you're going after a feeling, right, in that relationship. So you have to start the relationship with yourself. What do you need? Write down I need, I desire. Spend 5 minutes with a timer and just dump it out. Like, I want a glass of water. I want to take a bath. I want to go for a walk. I want to travel the world. Great. You're not going to be able to do that right now, but just keep writing these things down. Or maybe you can by the time you're listening to this. But pay attention to the little breadcrumbs that are coming out. I need a glass of water. Oh, geez. When's the last time I drank water? Okay, I'm going to run upstairs. I'm going to get that glass of water. I want a bath. Okay, how am I, have that discussion with your partner. Create that space for yourself instead of saying, I don't have time for a bath. I can't. Ask yourself, how can I create that space? Because your body, your soul, your spirit, all of these things, your life are showing you what you want and desire. So when you write that down and you just act on it, you're starting to fill yourself back up. And this is not difficult. Like, this is a simple concept. The difficulty will be in the resistance that you have, the mental resistance, the physical resistance that will come up. And I've noticed over the years how tricky resistance can be, where before, I just wanted to fight and I just wanted to sleep and I just wanted to resist it and run away, where now I run towards the resistance instead.
You have to accept it.
Yeah. So it's starting small, is asking yourself, what do I need? And if the answer is, I don't know, then you've got to sit in a corner and put yourself on a timeout and continue to ask yourself that question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are all really valuable points for the listeners. So, get a sheet of paper, write those questions out. And I know Heather's got lots of information on her website that will help you with these kinds of things as well. So back to the resistance piece, because I love the whole thing about letting go and resistance, because at the end of the day, when we don't want something, so we don't want to feel overwhelmed, we don't want to feel afraid, right? No one wants to be scared right now. But the bottom line is there is fear. The more we resist, when we don't want something, I don't want to be afraid. Because I don't want it, I resist it. And what I resist will persist. So we have to accept what we don't want. We have to accept what we're wanting to fight against. Because until we accept it, we will continue to fight it. And if we continue to fight it, it will continue to appear in our lives. So accepting that fear is a normal thing. I mean, we can maybe talk about fear for a bit, because it plays a huge part in our lives, especially now. Mm-hmm. And I know for me, to try and combat some of the fear, I I go very extreme when it comes to the news. I don't listen to any of it. And some people will have accused me of being socially irresponsible, and I accept that. At times it perhaps has been, but I know that I can show up a better person in the moment and serve myself and my needs, my kids' needs, my family's needs, and the mums and dads and parents that I support out there. I can way better support them when I'm not caught up in the fear in the news. Now, pre-corona, there was enough lack-based, fear-based, horrible things happening in the world. Now it really is overwhelming. So I don't listen to it, watch it, read it, none of it. And trust me, I hear all about it. Heather and I were just saying, people will text me and say, "Did you hear this?" And I do hear about it. It's not that I'm ignorant to it. But when I'm not allowing that news, which goes on repeat all day long, if it's on the radio, it's not filtering into me. It's not getting into me at a cellular level. Therefore, it's not taking over my body.
Yeah.
And so that for me is huge, because then being in the thick of it with my kids at home, with my husband at home, he usually works away from home, with them all around, my reactivity would be through the roof. And I do attribute a lot of my ability to counter that to the fact that I don't get caught up in the news, and I don't let that negativity filter my being every minute of the day, or even 3 times a day. I mean, people are waking up, the first thing they read is something horrific. The last thing they read before they go to sleep is something horrific, and they're not sleeping. And so the whole day they're consumed, even if it's not consciously, they're consumed subconsciously by this very real fear. So I would invite listeners to really look at their media diet and really look at where are they getting information from, and how much information are they getting, and what is the minimum they need, and work out what that is, and then give yourselves the minimum. What do you think? How do you cope with all the news and what's going on?
So I'm very much like you, where, I mean, when you were talking, what was going through my mind is just like business or parenting or anything else. People want the strategy or the blueprint or the step-by-step guidance.
The recipe.
And we need strategy, but we also, it's all mindset work. So just like you, where, okay, I'm not going to be naive and a conspiracy theorist. Because I'm just going to follow the rules. And so if I'm supposed to practice social distancing and not go out in public, we have a lot where people live with a lack mindset, but they have abundance. We probably have enough toilet paper forever, but besides that point, what I'm trying to say is we need to realize that the more we're seeking outside, like you said, what you resist will persist. And you're just feeding that fear mongering. You're feeding that energy inside of you. And so there's this weird technique that I do, and I don't know if I picked it up somewhere, but because I'm introverted and I'm highly sensitive, and I see everything as energy. And so when somebody comes towards me, meaning like I'm having a conversation with someone, you can always sense what the energy behind it, right?
Totally.
So somebody can send you an email, and I'm even watching this with all the emails coming through. I didn't even realize how many newsletters I was on, but if I see COVID-19 in a title, like I'm just unsubscribing from everything. Like, yes, I know Skechers, you're closed. Like, thank you for sharing. I don't even know why I'm on your newsletter. I
just got the Cal Tire one this morning.
Yes, but some people I'm observing how they're approaching it, and you can feel the energy behind it. And so that shows, the mindset of the leader or the mindset of the person that's writing the email, which is fine. I get it. We're all human. But here's the thing. The energy that's coming towards you, if it's not in alignment with how you want to feel, how do you need to change your energy to empower the energy that's coming towards you? So people will say, are you afraid, or are your children scared? And I'm like, no, my children know what's going on. but I am also not afraid or scared. So I'm influencing their energy. And so that is where the whole mom is in control aspect comes, is we have control over how we want to feel. I feel like I'm not answering your question because I'm like, what was the original question? But it's,
you
I don't
have.
even remember.
You've totally answered the question as to how you deal with the fear and
I
your
let go of everything
mindset.
that doesn't serve me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, but we have to have the awareness to know of what's not serving us. Because we can, as mums, self-care, the dreaded words, we can do all the self-care in the world. But if we're not aware of what we have to let go of, if we're not aware of what's draining us, the self-care is going to come in. I always say it's like giving a bleeding patient a blood transfusion. You give them the blood, it's just going straight out. So
I also feel like the core for me was realizing that I deserve to feel good. Like the core of all of this, I could do all of the quote unquote self-care. And a lot of it was what it was perceived self-care. Oh, go get your hair done. Go get your nails done. It actually wasn't self-care. It was self-respect that I needed to embody. And I didn't know how to do that. I was actually repelling it because I did not believe that I was deserving of feeling good. And the second I realized that and embodied it, everything else changed. Because now, even through all of this, my philosophy is, how good can it get? Okay, I feel great. How can I feel even better than great? Because my goal is to change the culture of motherhood and how women treat themselves. And therefore, that's how we're going to change the world.
And, how do you feel good? You don't just need the manicure and the pedicure. You need to be able to say no. You need to be good with your boundaries. You need all these other things that people don't really think of when they think of self-care. But we could go on and on and on chatting for hours. And I'm cognizant of the time. And I do like to keep my episodes to, not too long, so mums can grab them on the go. I'm not even too sure how long we've been recording here.
I don't know, but I just looked up at the time. I'm like, oh my goodness, that went quickly.
Yes, it went really quickly. And I think, that we have to, just to kind of recap our nuggets from this call, is to look within, to really get a feel for how you are feeling and how you want to feel and how you deserve to feel. And then, you said reverse engineer things so that you feel the way you want to, despite what's going on, because we deserve to feel good amidst this horrific time we find ourselves in. It's not selfish to say, I want to feel good today. If we don't give ourselves what we deserve and deserve to feel good, how are we going to operate in control in the thick of it? So that's the biggest piece that came out for me today, and to really look within and work out what is it that you need and give yourself what you need, and not just the obvious self-care things. In fact, this is a real wake-up call to us all, because we can't go and get the manicure, the pedicure, the lunch with a friend. We can't do that now. But
who are you without your eyelashes? That's what I keep asking myself right now.
Yeah, I know. And I'm doing certain things, thinking, when I can't get to the hairdresser, that'll be interesting. And then I can't get to London Drugs to maybe even try and do something myself with my hair. But I don't go there. I don't let my mind go too far, because otherwise I'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to be gray in however long, because my highlights will have grown out. We have to keep mind our minds, and we have to watch where our minds are going. We talked about fear, we talked about resistance, but we really need to, bottom line, look out for how we are feeling and how we want to feel, and try our best amidst this chaos and to be in control and feel good. So I will share Heather's podcast URL in my podcast notes. I'll also put her website there, because she does way more than just the Mum is in Control podcast. She has all sorts of amazing courses that she offers to people, to parents, to mums. And so you can look her up through the podcast notes here. And I have really enjoyed having you on the show, Heather. I appreciate your wisdom. I have listened to many of your episodes since hearing you a couple of months back on the Anger Summit that Renee Jane ran. So I really appreciate you being here and the conversation, and hope that I know that our listeners will have got a lot from it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I love being in community, and I truly believe this is how we're going to change the world.
Yeah, and community is everything right now, because we can't get outside into our physical communities. We need community. We need support. So find your tribe. And now we have to go online to find our tribe. We actually, I'm digressing a bit. A friend of mine sent a email out the other day saying, okay, we're having a cocktail tonight at ours, après ski at 8:00. She sent the Zoom link, and 5 couples all sat together, in our own rooms, in our own homes, and had a little cheers. And it was amazing. We would have been nicer in person, but we can still do it. So this community building in recording podcasts and chatting with like-minded powerhouses, it's a great way forward, and it really has been awesome to have you here. So thanks again, Heather.
Thank you.